Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Josh Guerrero here, and welcome to the All Around Adventure podcast. Whether you're joining me for the first time or you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, I certainly do want to welcome you here. And as always, I want to thank you for being here today, just because I know you're busy and I know you have a lot going on, but it really does mean so much to me that you've chosen to download and listen to this podcast today. But if you are, in fact, new to this podcast and you're not entirely sure what we're all about here, this is the show where you hear amazing tales from afar and get the all-important life lessons that go along with them. And those will be stories from the incredible guests that I welcome on this podcast, as well as stories from myself, which is going to be for today's episode. You're going to have me today. This is a solo cast. I don't really have a fancy name for these solo casts like I used to in the past. I guess this is just simply the solo show now. And like I said, I'm going to be sharing my own stories, my own thoughts and ideas with you all today. I'm going to try not to make this episode too terribly long. I usually like to keep these around 10 to 15 minutes or so, just to give you something to chew on as you go into your week and give you something to think about. And I hope you can find something in this episode that you can take and apply into your own life once you're done listening to it. So with that, I just want to share a story with you all today to kind of kick this off. And I posted on my Instagram a couple days ago. And if you're not following me on Instagram, that's the platform I'm most active on. My handle there is @allaroundadventure. Do feel free to follow me over there. I like connecting with you all over on that platform. And it was from 3 years ago, just when I was about maybe like a week and a half to 2 weeks into my 1,200 mile through hike across the entire state of Michigan. There was an endeavor that I called Operation Wolverine Walk, which is a big charity event that I did to help veterans. And I ended up raising $10,000 for American veterans' archaeological recovery. But at the time, when I was just kind of getting going with that trek, those first couple weeks or so, I would certainly say were probably the hardest part of the trek, and mostly just because I hadn't really quite fully adjusted to life on the trail yet, and both physically and mentally, I would certainly say. Of course, physically, even though I had trained for this endeavor, it's just going day after day of doing about 12, maybe, and sometimes even 16-mile days starting off. It was kind of wearing on my feet, on my legs, my knees, and, my shoulders were kind of starting to hurt a little bit too from just having the pack on all the time. And so it took, so it was kind of hard physically at first. I kind of had to push through a little bit of pain. But there's also some mental struggles that I had dealt with on the trail just as well too. Of course, there was the isolation of just being in these remote wilderness trails for miles and miles and not seeing another human, not hearing any other voices other than my own if I just happen to talk out loud. And of course, this is where, things like audiobooks and podcasts kind of came into play a little bit, just so that way I could hear other people's voices and kind of maybe not totally lose my mind, I guess I will certainly say. But there was also just some other things that happened on the trail that just kind of messed with my head a little bit. It rained one day, and I don't know if and this may not have actually been caused by the rain. Of course, walking through the rain is not really the most fun, but I think my hydration bladder was leaking. But when I set up to make camp this one night, I found out that my sleeping bag was completely soaked. And of course, having a wet sleeping bag, as many people who've spent a good amount of time outside will know, it's absolutely miserable. So stuff like that happened. And then, of course, just some thoughts going through my mind, was thinking, man, I'm just starting off and I'm already dealing with all these problems, but I still have so far of a ways to go. But I just kept going. And as I kind of went along this trek, I just simply got stronger with every single step. It's just eventually my body was able to adjust to the load that I was carrying and the miles that I was putting in. And so those miles day after day after day became a lot less strenuous because I had adapted to it. And then, of course, I found sort of my own ways of dealing with some of the stressors that I faced on the trail. And I kind of developed some systems to kind of work through some problems that I had faced. And I also developed the mindset to be able to cope with them a lot better too. So really what I just want to extend to you all just from this story is that, when you set out for any journey in life, I mean, of course, in my story, I'm talking about an actual literal journey of walking really, really far. But, your journey could be something similar. Maybe you are on a fitness journey. You have a weight loss goal. You're trying to put on a certain amount of pounds of muscle, or you're trying to develop a skill and maybe some performance goals. And, maybe you're in the halls of academia working towards a degree to get a career that you may want someday. Or maybe you're in the career that you want now, but you're starting out and you're trying to work your way up the ladder. Maybe you're a new parent and you're trying to figure out, how to be a parent to, a kid or a couple of kids, and especially as your kids get older and things change and all this other stuff. So now when it came to me going on this trek and getting stronger with every single step, there was two things that I think were kind of prerequisites, I guess I'll say, for lack of better terms in my head right now, in order for me to get stronger with each step. And that is one, I needed to have the ability to adapt. And two, I need to have the drive and the perseverance to keep going. When you keep going and you get consistency, you get those reps in, again, with whatever journey you might be on for, that's just practice, and that's going to make you better right away. But you also need to have the ability to adapt, because in any journey that you face, you're going to run into failures, you're going to run into obstacles, and you're going to run into setbacks. And when you do, it's going to feel very defeating, if you do end up failing. I mean, it's really kind of hard to say. And sometimes the fear of failure keeps a lot of people from starting a journey in the first place. So it's just more when those things do happen, you don't let them bring you down. You use them as a learning opportunity. Again, with my sleeping bag, when it got completely soaked, I'm like, well, how can I keep this stuff from happening again? Can I wrap it up in a separate plastic bag? Can I order maybe like some waterproof sacks and get them shipped to me? It's just, what can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And of course, the same thing, out on the trail too, dealing with things like, isolation. And the way I kind of sort of set it up, so that way I'm not on trail all the time. Like every few days or so, I would take a 0 day and I would spend like a day with maybe like a trail angel or something, and, maybe make some phone calls, whatever the case may be, just to kind of help deal with the isolation. So it's really just, just keeping it going, one foot in front of the other. Newton's first law of physics is that an option, if I can speak today, is that an object will stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an external force. And of course, in this case, the external forces are the obstacles that you face along the way when you're setting out on a journey. And then of course, the mindset is, you just keep moving either way. So, all right, everyone, that's just what I want to share with you all really quick here to start off your week. So just remember, any journey that you set out for in life, you will get stronger with each and every step, as long as you have the drive to keep going and you have the ability to adapt and overcome. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you did enjoy today's episode, like I said, do feel free to connect with me over on Instagram. My handle there is @allaroundadventure, and Instagram is where I'm most active. Make sure you turn in next week, because I have a brand new episode featuring another fantastic guest, so you certainly don't want to miss that. Other than that, as always, I just want to thank you very much for being here today. I know you're busy, like I said, and that you have a lot going on, but it truly does mean the world to me that you've chosen to download this podcast to listen to what I had to say today. All right, everyone, I shall see you next week. Until then, have a fantastic week and keep getting after it. All right, y'all. Thank you very much. Till next time.